Hello you lot. I've been having a lot of questions from some of you recently. What is one of these cage truggies? What is the difference between a buggy and a truggy? It would appear that some of you have been buying these Hobeo cage buggies by mistake, thinking that you was buying a truggy, but you've actually bought a buggy. Some of you are a bit upset, other ones, it is what it is. So I thought, let's have a look to go over both of them. What is the difference, and why is there even two? Why is there two? So I've got both here. This is the buggy version, and this is the truggy version. Now, I know, don't worry, I know that some of you that watch these videos are well versed in the world of Nitro radio controlled cars, but don't forget there's a lot of people coming into the hobby now. The hobby is blowing up, alright? People are coming into Nitro like never before, and if that's one of you and you don't know the difference, then that's why I'm here. Because what I do is I help beginners learn about Nitro cars, specifically Nitro engines and the way that Nitro cars work and what to do with them, etc. But also, if I get questions like what's the difference between these two styles of car, I'll help you understand the two different styles. So a truggy, right? Well, actually, let's start with the buggy. The buggy, we all know what a buggy is. If you really are 100% green when it comes to radio controlled cars, a buggy is basically a four-wheel drive car with a chassis, with a flat chassis, okay, four-wheel drive, 9.9 million times out of 10, and that's that, quite small, 1/8 scale usually, and yeah, that's what that is. You got your Nitro engine. You've obviously got your two servos, one for throttle, one brake, one for steering, and an exhauster comes out the side. That's a buggy. Now a truggy is typically a buggy, as you can see here. It's got the same chassis. Everything's the same apart from the wheelbase, basically. I don't think, even if you look down at the two chassis from the top, I don't think there's even any difference. I might be wrong, okay? Some of you may well know. If you was to get a tape measure out, you'd probably find out. But the main difference between a truggy and a buggy is the wheels and the axles. So on a buggy, we've got a lot smaller axles and smaller wheels. On a truggy, we've got bigger wheels and bigger and wider axles, because they're derived from a truck. This is a monster truck, and this is solely a monster truck. There is no two ways about it. But the truggy is supposed to be a buggy and a truck, a monster truck, together. The TR, the tr for truck, and the uggy for buggy, truggy. And I know that might be quite simplistic, and you're probably thinking, what the hell is this Orinoco talking about? Well, if you don't know, you don't know. So how can you possibly buy the wrong one? Well, a lot of people don't realise when they see the truggy, particularly on my channel, it would appear quite a lot of people have seen me with this truggy, this cage truggy, which is awesome. One of the best Nitro cars I've ever had. One of, not the best, one of the best. It's fantastic, and they've gone out and they wanted one, so they've gone out and bought one, but they've ended up with a buggy. And I've had quite a few people say, oh, hang about, why has mine got smaller wheels than yours? Things like that. It's because you've gone and bought a buggy. So they did do, don't forget, this cage truggy and the buggy has been around for a long time. I think they've been out for about 20 years. I could be wrong, but they've been out for a long time, at least 10 years. And obviously they still make them brand spanking new because they're a good design. They're designed from the Hyper 7, basically. That's where it derives from, the Habeo Hyper 7, but they've obviously made it into a cage. And without, the cage is instead of a shell. So you don't have a shell on there, instead you've got a cage. And they're very good. They look the nuts, and they're very simple. You just take out a couple of things and flip it up. Or you can just take it off and have it without the cage altogether. So when you're going to buy one, you need to obviously make sure that it says Buggy if you want the Buggy version, or Truggy if you want the Truggy version. Personally, I prefer the Truggy version. I like buggies, and I've got buggies. I've got my race buggy, the Techno NB4 or NB48 or whatever it is, and my MP9. I like a buggy. I do like a buggy, but I like a Truggy because they're a bit more bigger and a bit bulkier, which means they're just better, because buggies tend to get stuck on little rocks and little bumps in the ground, and if you're not going around a perfectly flat track, or if you're going on, they struggle a bit with long grass because they've got smaller wheels. Whereas a Truggy, because it's got larger wheels, it can go across taller grass, it can handle rougher terrain because it's slightly taller. You can see there the buggy, you can see how close that is to the ground. Whereas if we go and have a look at the Truggy, got quite a bit more ground clearance. Oh, and I should have mentioned, and some of you probably shouting it at the screen, another difference between the Truggy and the Buggy is you've obviously, because you've got higher ground clearance as well because of the higher wheels, but you've also got slightly, well, I do think they look roughly the same, but you have got bigger suspension on the Truggy. I'm fairly certain of it. The back suspension is definitely bigger. I think the front might be quite similar, but anyway, everything's just a bit bigger. But you've got the same engine in these cage Truggies. You've got the Mach 28 in the Buggy and the Truggy. You can get them, or you could, don't know whether you still can, you could get them with the 21, but they got 28s, particularly in the cage Truggy. They did also used to do them with this orange cage and chassis. When I bought mine, I bought this one brand spanking new a couple of years ago, and I was told that they don't do the orange one anymore, they only come in black. That being said, some of you lot have bought one recently and you said that you got it brand spanking new in orange. Now that could be because it's an old stock, it's still brand new, never been opened, but it could be old stock, or they could just be making them orange, I don't know. But I was told by the hobby shop that I bought mine from that they don't do the orange one anymore, because I wanted the orange. I am glad that I got the black one in the end, because I do think it looks better than the orange in person. The orange looked good on the pictures, but in person I prefer the black, so I'm glad I got the black one with the orange springs. I think that looks really cool. I like that a lot. Amazing. But yeah, there's not really a lot to talk about, but when they are just identical, just with bigger axles, bigger wheels. But when some of you were saying to me that I just felt guilty, even though it wasn't my problem. Some of you were saying about a few people, quite a few people say that they see it on my videos, they want a cage Truggy, and then they say, I've been out and got one, but it's got small wheels. And I'm like, you bought the Buggy, you idiot. Yeah, you do need to do a little bit of looking and just make sure that you know what you're buying. Yeah, there is a Buggy version and a Truggy version. That is the difference. Do you know what I mean? There is no more other two ways around it, but they are pretty much identical other than that. Anyway, I hope that's helped. Like I say, there's not a lot to say, not a lot to talk about, but I've had questions and people say, can I explain the difference? So there's a difference. So there we go. Yeah, I'm afraid if you've been stupid enough to buy the wrong one, you need to look at websites, you need to look at what you're buying before you order it. Don't take 2 seconds just to have a look. And if you're not sure, yeah, just ask someone, or ask the website or the shop or whatever. Phone them up and say, I'm after a Truggy, the big one, not the Buggy. Anyway, I've got my lawnmower out, my lawn boy 4651. Or was it a 52? I think it's a 51. Yeah, I got that. That's my 2-stroke mower. I need to get that going again. Ready for the summer season, ready for cutting grass. So if you like lawnmowers and you like taking them apart, and you like carburetors and you like getting engines running, that one runs but it floods a lot. So I need to take it apart and have a look at the float. That's not going to be on this channel, it's going to be on the other channel. But if you like that sort of thing, that's coming up fairly soon. I get a lot of questions as well. What's going on, what's coming up next, what's happening. I don't really like to give too much away in life, let alone in videos, but I've got various things planned coming up on this channel. But other than that, it's just the normal kind of thing. There's quite a few will it runs in the pipeline, so if you like them sort of things, stick around. It's been a little bit mad the last couple of weeks, to be honest. I haven't really had a chance to do a lot regarding RC, but there we go. There's more coming up, and right, the rain is subsiding. Well, at least it seems to be. Someone said there's some forecast for tomorrow, but I don't think, well, maybe there is, but the weekend is going to be just as dry as it's been for the rest of for the beginning start of this week. So that's brilliant. Maybe I can go and have a bit of a spin with a couple of cars. Might have to get the Savage 21 out or something like that. Who knows, man? Who bloody knows? Anyway, I want you to put in the comments, please. I want to know stuff, man. I want to know, what's it like where you live now? Is it nice and hot? Do you live in a hot country? Is it hot? Have you been out and about with your cars? What have you been doing? What car have you got? I love knowing stuff about you like that, because it feels like we're a little bit of more of a family then, do you know what I mean? And I know some of you live in Australia, some of you live in New Zealand, South Africa, Texas, places like that, where you can just go and drive around as much as you want, whenever you want, because it's never really wet or cold. I don't mind the cold so much, but when it's wet, I don't like cleaning them. Look, that's from when I went to the park that time, and it just got a little bit muddy. And once they're muddy, they stay muddy. Anyway, I'll catch you later on. Thanks for watching. I know it wasn't particularly exciting, but hopefully I've helped some of you. If you wanted one of these cage buggies or truggies, maybe I've helped you now to understand the difference, and just make sure you're buying the right one. Yeah, just it takes literally every website, every shop that sells them. These are fantastic, by the way. Hebeo, they know exactly what they're doing. They're fantastic. Well, you probably might be able to get better, but you can't get better. You know what I mean? They're all on par with all the others. But every shop that sells them should list which one it is. And even if not, just look at the blooming pictures. Make sure you're buying the right one. If you want a buggy, buy the buggy, obviously. But if you want the truggy, make sure that you're buying the truggy and not a buggy, because you will be disappointed. Because as I said, in my opinion, the truggy is 10,000,749 times better than a buggy. Not just this truggy, but any truggy is better than a buggy. But it depends what you want. I have a buggy and a truggy, but it depends what you want. Yeah, but make sure you're buying the right one. I'll catch you later. Love life, treat people nicely, don't take other people for granted, and we should have a nice happy life together. Cheerio.